We should be live any second now.
I'm watching. Okay, I just saw it hit.
All right.
We're on.
GP, you're hosting. You got an opening line?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Give me 1 sec.
Okay. All right. I'm glad I didn't start saying it.
I'm going to mute my
whenever you're
phone
ready.
because it just dinged at me.
Yep.
Danger.
And I am okay. Here we go. Everybody ready? We're good?
Yep. Go ahead.
Yep.
I was born ready.
I was a preemie. All right, here we go.
Wow. Sorry, Pornhub.
Nothing I can say now is going to be funnier than what chart. Okay, here we go. I can finish in under 5 minutes, and that leaves 2 minutes for cuddling. Today on.
Nobody's going to talk over this intro.
It's canon now.
You're almost
canon
there.
now.
We almost had a perfect intro. He's not looking. Go ahead.
Hello
GP.
and welcome back. Oh, hi. Welcome back to Press B to Cancel, the show where the games are made up and the points don't matter. My name is GP, and with me today are 4 of my probably top 5 friends. And let's just go in no particular order. Sinistar, how are you today?
I'm feeling really fast today. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. It's like I said, good to be back. I've been gone for a couple of months. It was only supposed to be a 3-hour tour, but here we are, and I'm happy to be back. Seeing all
Nice
of your
reference.
smiling faces. Chard, how are you today, Mr. Chardmonk?
That's it. I know why you picked Sinistar first, and it isn't going to work, buddy. Okay. Otherwise,
I can't have him. No one can.
I'm burning this whole place to the ground. I'm good. Apparently a little fired up, but I'm all right.
I love it though. You're gonna need that rage for today. Werewolf, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I actually, random tangent already. I just noticed that shelf behind Chard, the little cart with all the books.
Oh yeah, that's the wife's
I
card.
recognize that cart. We have one of those.
Nice.
Is that the Ordnung from IKEA?
Yes.
Very cool.
Actually, it might be the umlauta. I don't know.
The umlauta?
Yeah.
What is an Ordnung? I think that is the word for a Mennonite
Wire
community,
basket
or an
cart?
Amish community. Oh, it's wire? Never mind.
It's the wire basket card.
No, it's too high tech. And Sig Jake, welcome in. How are you, sir? It's good to see you.
Apparently, I joined the wrong podcast. I didn't realize this was Press B for Furniture Talk. I'm missing out.
Well, okay. So furniture is kind of the exact opposite of today's subject matter because it takes me forever to build anything. And today's
I was going to say,
topic,
it's
I
this
mean,
topic
I
will
got
be a build your own topic.
when we got IKEA, I got really good at speed running some of those furniture builds, my friend.
I think IKEA furniture instructions are the quintessential 21st century exercise in nonverbal communication.
I was gonna say it's like a language of its own. You have to realize what you have to understand like how to speak stick figure.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
And
I work
yeah.
in manufacturing, so I have to build stuff literally all day. I actually speed run Genie units. So 9 minutes and 52 seconds. Let's go, baby.
Did you say G units?
Genie
units, not G units. Genie.
Oh, okay.
Units.
I'm like, yo, is 50 Cent listed in that?
Yeah, G
Welcome
unit.
in. Good to see you.
Notable
50.
listener of the podcast.
Okay.
50 Cent.
So, yes, today's topic is
he Nigerian or wherever it is that they love us?
Don't offend
Those
our
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe listener.
wow.
Uh,
Wow.
We may not be
sole
number
owner
3
of
there
a
anymore,
Press B
but
to
still, we
Cancel
still
shirt.
love Zimbabwe.
We do.
Press G to unit.
Yes, I like that. Okay, so anyway, I should actually say what today's topic is, and it's speed running. The guys asked what we should talk about today, since it is my first time back since late March when we were doing March Radness, and during my hiatus, I had this interesting conversation with a cousin of mine who's not, I don't want to say anti-speed running, but he's always been of the mind that speed running kind of diminishes the spectacle, the overall event of what a game is. And after Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out, he had said somebody had already beaten it, and the record's in like 90 hours.
Hold on.
Tears of the
Not to
Kingdom.
put him on the spot,
that-
but is this Biz?
No.
That game, sorry, you need to refer to it as that game from that company that we don't want to
Yeah.
sue us.
We're sorry, Nintendo.
Right.
Don't sue.
Sinistar's not
Keys
wrong.
of the K's came out, and people beat it post haste. And I that was the first time I stopped and thought, well, that kind of takes all the fun out of playing a new game. And it got me thinking, you know, as a speed runner from the days of yore, do I still hold fast to the belief that speedrunning is in itself its own art form, and dare I say sport, which we'll talk about that particular aspect later on. So before I dive too much into my own thoughts and opinions, Sig Jake, where do you come down on this? Do you speedrun, and do you think that it is in fact a valuable part of the community?
Well, I am the former world record holder for Double Dragon.
Yeah, you are.
Not the good one, the one on the Master System, although I like it. Until literally everybody in Brazil beat my record. It's something like 12 minutes right
the
now. Mine was
entire
like
country
20.
of Brazil.
They all got
I'm
together.
not
and
kidding.
said, we got to take this motherfucker down.
No, Brazil is
Signal
like,
stand.
Brazil.
they are very territorial when it comes to the Master System because they had it straight up through the 90s, right? So when there's a game on that leaderboard, it's just all Brazil. They are amazingly talented people over there and just ruthless. And the one Cadian who has
Press
one
me to
bloody
cancel.
record.
The only place where you could see 200 million people beat Jake.
You would think we'd be making
I
more
thought
Close to
the
the
B
5
in
every
press
week,
B
but
was
yeah.
press Brazil to cancel.
Nice. Well,
But,
Are we getting
Brazil from me to
Brazilians?
you, obrigado, and sin problema. Thank you.
I know. So
Gracias, de nada.
I do speed run.
Cerveza, por favor.
Oh boy, I speed run occasionally. I do want to try and get that record back. I think I can do it.
Speak Portuguese.
Speech Portuguese.
Jake versus Brazil. I love
Actually,
it.
that'd be a YouTube series.
Actually,
Jake
they
versus Brazil,
speak
and I just
Brazilian
speed runs
Portuguese.
Master System games. That's actually not a bad idea. We should do that. But
The
anyway,
I
Canadian
love it.
smoke blower versus Brazil.
Look,
My father
Scott
spent
Pilgrim-
years.
if
in
Scott
Brazil.
Pilgrim can take down the world, surely you can handle Brazil.
that's true. At least I'm not getting the
I
Lex
don't
Luthor
know.
moniker. I forget the question, GP. Well, how do I feel about speed running?
What do you think? What do you think about speedrunning?
Okay. My take on it is, does it spoil the game? I mean, if you're going to do it the first time, sure. But who actually speed runs games from the get-go? I didn't speed run Double Dragon when I first played it. I played it multiple times the usual way. I know there's one guy who played Tears of the Kingdom. There's always that one guy. It's like with every World of Warcraft expansion. There's always that one guy who at the stroke of midnight has already mastered every single raid just so he can throw his name out there. It's like that with everything. But in general, people aren't speedrunning games for the first time they go through it. They have to play through it normally, or usually the usual way. And then once they've mastered it, then they want to do it faster. I think it's a really fun way to add an extra challenge to a game. There's many different ways to get some more value out of retro games, right? For those Chivos or speedrunning. So I think it's totally a valid way to play a game. But I don't think you should speedrun a game just for the sake of being the one to beat it first. I think that's a little bit silly. But
Yeah, I think those are good points and valid points. I like the parallel that you drew between speedrunning and Chivos. I think that's a valid opinion. I also want to celebrate you for answering a speedrunning question in 12 minutes. So thank you. And we're gonna
thank you.
sorry, Sinistar with the that has to be a sound.
break
button,
that
like a
record.
little sound bite.
I am Brazil.
That has to be t-shirts, right?
I am Brazil.
I am Brazil.
Soy Brazil.
Yes.
Soy Brazil.
Okay. Werewolf, how about you? Do you speed run? Have you speed ran? And what are your thoughts on its validity in the community?
Okay, so I've tried speedrunning in the past. It never works out for me. I tend to lean toward trying to do all the things in the game. So there's only a couple of times where I've sort of tried speedrunning. well before I knew speedrunning was even a thing, I tried going through Mega Man X in under an hour. And I want to say I was like 14, 15 at the time. I managed it. I was proud of myself. So, like, in that regard, yeah, I guess I kind of tried speedrunning, but I know the record now is something stupid like 28 minutes or 32 minutes or something like that. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to come anywhere close to that, right? But I've tried it with like Symphony of the Night again, well before I knew speedrunning was a thing. And I would get really far and then I'd be like, but I want to go do all these other things. So I completely sidetrack and just do everything anyway. So I'm not the speedrunning type, but I enjoy watching speedruns from time to time. I like watching like Zelda randomizer speedruns and
Yeah,
stuff like
those are
that.
fun.
Those are super, like the races especially. Those are super cool.
Oh, they're great.
Um,
Yeah.
So I like watching that kind of stuff, but for the most part, I'm not really big on speedrunning. There was one point I was almost the top of a leaderboard for a speedrun because it had not had anything submitted. I played through 3 Dirty Dwarves for the Saturn, and my gameplay was like hour and 10 minutes or something. It would not have stayed at the top had I submitted it. But I'm kind of glad I didn't do it because now I know that the first person to submit for a game becomes moderator for the game. I don't want to deal with that.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
Yeah.
that would have been funny to be the first person to have a world record in 3 Dirty Dwarves just because I
You know,
had the game.
If you're
Yeah.
if you're moderating that, you can just shoot everybody down and be like, nope, that's disqualified. Nope, that's disqualified.
You're
Oh,
emulating
I'm,
didn't do it
I'm
properly.
sorry. This looks like you did a mod hack on it. I'm sorry.
Right.
You definitely
I'm
started.
sorry. It needs to be a Model 1 Saturn with a 3D controller.
No, just change it to where
Real
you
hardware
hold
only,
up your
please.
Thank you.
console.
Yeah.
You hold up your console and say it has to be on this machine.
this specific machine, this one right here.
Right. Right. And I can prove that it wasn't anyway. No, that's great. See, this is kind of what I was hoping for. I didn't want us all to kind of come down on the exact same side of this thing because I want there to be some dialogue, and I want us to really not dissect it because again, it's kind of a surface. It's a surface concept. It's like golf. This is why I was saying, is it like a sport? There are sports out there where the object of the game is to play the least amount of the game, and in that way, speedrunning is like golf. You win by playing the least of it. So anyway, but again, more.
Yeah,
on that later.
I was actually thinking speedrunning is kind of the exact opposite of Bob Ross. Right?
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
there are no happy little accidents.
yes,
I
there's
want
no
to
happy
point
accident.
out.
There are only mistakes.
I want to point out that you've now gotten twice out of me tonight.
Oh, I'm going for the hat trick, my friend. And if
I'll throw my hat on the rink. I'll do it.
I know you will. You hockey loving son of a bitch.
Mm.
So with that transition, Chard, what do you think about rum? Sorry, I saw Kraken and I got thirsty.
I love
What do you
rum.
think about speed running? What
Oh, hold
do
on.
you speed run, if anything? Which we all know you do. Oh my God, yes. Love that. Not a sponsor,
Well,
by the way.
Sorry,
But
YouTube.
send us
Not a
message.
sponsor. Not a
Yeah.
sponsor.
Sorry, YouTube.
Not
You
yet.
didn't drink it. It's okay.
It's juice. It's fine. It's juice.
Let's go, Juice.
we never drink
no
on
juice.
on stream.
Actually, it's probably no juice. It's funny to me because I was thinking to myself when we talk about speed runnings, I'm always thinking of like Wolf said, Mega Man X. I did some speed running of Mega Man X when I first got into speed running because I was watching one of classic speedrun streamer Rift 20XX do his stuff, and he was like the aforementioned. He was trying to get down to that 30-minute stuff, and I went, you know what? It's the same goddamn thing with RA. I was like, I'm going to give this a shot to see what happens. And then I kind of got into it and I was having fun with it. Now, to Jake's point, to kind of echo Jake's point, I like to beat a game fully before I start speedrunning it. So to me, I don't think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start speedrunning this game when it comes out. I want the full rich experience. I want the story. I want all the stuff to go with it. Then I will figure out how to do the rest of it from there. If I decide to do it, I'm not an avid speedrunner. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, I used to do free enterprise, Final Fantasy IV free enterprise randomizer races.
Love that.
And I used to do Final Fantasy VI World Collide. I was doing that for a long time because I was trying to get faster at that. But I mean, that's not the whole story, right? They're mods. They're literally race mods where you go and find everything's randomized. You go find it's the same thing with Link to the Past. I did that too. My fastest time in Link to the Past is 8 hours, so killing it. Anyways, I always like to take
It's top
if
10,
I'll take
right?
that's top 10, yeah, easily. I'm right there below Brazil. If I take a game I'm going to play, I want to play the whole thing and get the whole enrichment. Like if I were to play, we're going to talk about it because I've been talking about it this morning. If I wanted to play Dark Souls 3 again, since I've beaten it and I've kind of had the whole fill of the story, now I would be like, how can I do this faster? And then I would speed run that and figure out what we're supposed to do with that. But it's just to add an extra challenge to the game. It's not, I don't want glory. I'm not in like for leaderboards. I don't give a shit about that. It's just like, how can I make this game more challenging than it already is? And that's where I would start doing the speedrunning stuff. I am not speedrunning Dark Souls or Demon Souls or any of that shit. So don't think anybody isn't, I'm going to do that. But if I were, that's how I'd play it. I'd play the full game. I'd beat it entirely. Then I go, you know what? I like this so much. Let's do it again. Sekiro. I could probably speedrun Sekiro now. Try and figure out how to do that since I've already beaten it. So that's my opinion. I think it's like a sport kind of thing too. It's really cool to watch people do, 100% or any percents or, whatever modifications they're running on their own channel, their own thing to do, and watch how they do it. No zips, Mega Man 1, like no zip runs are incredibly fun to watch. And to see people do glitch runs and stuff, it's mind blowing. Like people beating games in 5 minutes that should take you at least an hour to do. It's cool to watch. I'll admit it. It's very entertaining. I don't have the patience to like learn all the little stuff because I specifically remember people being like, all right, I got to jump, like click, click, jump. Okay, click, click, jump, click, click, jump. Like they do it over and over again until they get it nailed. And I do not have the patience for that. So props to you, GP, because I know you are on some leaderboards and you've sped run some extremely difficult games. I don't have the wherewithal to do that stuff. So that's my opinion about the whole speedrunning thing.
Right on. I think there's some really good points there. And actually, to go back to what Wolf was saying, because what you were saying was, Wolf, you're kind of a completionist. You'll get 100% of the things whenever. And there are certain things, especially like Mega Man X or any of those that I've put some thought into. Like, I could do that, but I know I'm going to have to do the 100% completionist run because I've always done that. I have a hard time not doing that. It wasn't until the Mega Man damage randomizer that I even started playing X2 without collecting the 0 parts. So up until then, it was just I was batting 1,000 for 100% on that. But yeah, so no, I get that. My issue is, and I'll go into this more after we talk to Sinistars, I'm a bit of an asshole, but I'll bury the lead on that for a moment. Sinistar, where do you come down with this? Do you speedrun anything other than Mario 1? And what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm glad you brought up
fastest to 8-2.
The first 95% of
I'm glad you brought up.
Speedrun a Bard's Tale recently?
That's an 80%.
I anti-speedrun the Bard's Tale because Bard's Tale 2, because as much as I love that game, fuck the snares at the end. Anyway, sorry, YouTube. No, so you brought up Super Mario, and I will say I don't speedrun, but there is something a little there's that like serotonin release or whatever that hits like 4-1 where I got it to the point that I could just literally run from front to back, just keep that that button or the D-pad over to the right and just keep it going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had an experience with Von Kaiser in Punch Out, where I figured out a trick that I could get repeated stars to the point that, like, okay, I've built up 3 stars, just nail him with super uppercuts and he's done. Like, it was a little bit of a speedrun technique. But I haven't ever done anything noteworthy. One of the benefits of going last out of all of this conversation is the brevity thing. So I'll just say I agree with everybody else. Okay. I'm kidding. I'll go into what I want to talk about. But no, I'm a completionist and I've had to give some of that up. Like Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I got into completionist hell and never ever ever beat that game ever. So when Skyrim came out, I said, you know what? I'm just going to play the main, story. I'm not going to completionist it, and then I'll go back afterwards. And I was really sad at how short the main story was.
Well,
But
that's a thing. Like off that offshoot of that point, like the development team for Elder Scrolls, they do an internal speed run before the game is released.
yeah.
And so,
But-
like, usually, I think with Skyrim, like, a few people beat it in under 2 hours
Yes.
on the dev team.
Yeah.
Like, this is wild,
honestly,
right? Like,
honestly, I think if I went back and played that front to back, I don't know that I could get 2 hours, but I probably could get 3 hours and complete that game. I really
I've
probably
never
could.
beaten.
It's not that long. It really is not that long. And if you know where to go, like if you know, like, your end goal and you don't follow all of the roads and everything, you could probably shave off a fourth of that game. Now that said, I adore watching speedrunners because I really enjoy I enjoy there's two worlds to speedruns, and this is something that we'll probably talk about when we get into the ranking, right? There's most games there's an any percent, and that any percent is, hey, I've glitched this, I beat it in 5 minutes, right? Or there's the, I've done like Super Mario, you do world 1-1 to world 8-4, every single, you don't do any warps, the whole warpless thing, whatever. And so I love that there's kind of two worlds to speed running, where there's the glitch it and get it done as quickly as you can. And then there's the other side of it of, let's run this front to back as fast as you can, like as fast and as hard as you can. And I love watching both. I absolutely adore watching both. I probably like the glitching a little bit more because I love seeing those, like when you were doing Battletoads, GP, and you found the way into the tunnels, like glitching into the wall. Like I loved it. I loved it, or the turbo tunnels, the glitch there. Yeah.
Right.
I like seeing a glitch run maybe 1 or 2 times, and then I'm kind of done watching those just because, like, the first time I love seeing it. After that, I'm not all that interested. Like,
I'm with you, but it's more like when the person figures out how to glitch with consistency. At that point, I'm like, okay, we can move on. But it's watching the person, like, figure out that pixel perfect entry, or that pixel, whatever, right? Like catching that stuff is great. So yeah, I'll admit, like after a while, you're like, okay, now I understand the glitch. It's, I can't do it, but I understand the glitch. But watching the person, like, hey, that worked this time. What did I do? I've got to go back and reduplicate it. I love that bit. So
that's my thing is
watching
glitches.
speedrunners is like watching RA stuff for me, because you just like when you said, when you get the glitch or you figure out the thing, it's like watching someone get an achievement they've been working so hard at to get. So you're like along for the journey. So if someone was starting up a speedrun, guys, I've never speedrun Mega Man 2 before, we're gonna figure it out and play it together. And then you watch them grow and do all the stuff that they're doing. And when they get that zip, you're like, oh, fuck yeah. It's like, I got that achievement finally.
Watch them nail a jump to the point that, like, they land and they hit the button right at the right time into the next, piece. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like you're going with them on the journey and you're celebrating with them. I think that's a cool thing.
What do you got, Jake?
Well, it's neat to see like the zips, and I know there's a certain level of skill to pull off those glitches and tricks consistently. I've always been more the 100% runs. I love watching somebody who has mastered a game like Battletoads. The 100% run in Battletoads is something to see, where they go through the entire game, no warps, no strange glitches, no going through walls, and they just have to be good at everything that makes that game what it is. I definitely appreciate like Mega Man runs with zips. That's really cool. But to see somebody go through Mega Man 1 without any of they're not cheats, but without those glitches, just going through straight and just pure 100% mastery of everything in the game, that's really cool. So I've always been more a fan of the 100% runs myself.
And maybe it's for me because, I'm a coder by day, right? And maybe for me it's that, like, oh, that's some bad code that somebody exploited, right?
Right.
And I write bad code. So I'm like, go exploit my bad code. Let's
That
go.
makes sense.
So I mentioned earlier being like a completionist, like Wolf was saying, and this is where I'm a hypocrite. And then I'll go into why I'm an asshole as well. When I speedrun a game that I don't have a long history with, like the Mega Man X games or just the regular Mega Man games, I will absolutely abuse the hell out of the shortcuts and the glitches. And I was never really aware of speedrunning until I started the retro therapy. So in the months leading up to that, I had come across Cool Kid, I think it was, doing glitched runs of Mega Man 1. And I didn't know any of that existed. I didn't know there were glitches in games or exploits that you could do that had to be pixel perfect and you got to, get exactly here. And it depends on what screen, or if you're using a CRT, just all that stuff. It was like this whole new world. And I obsessed. And I'm not a talented gamer, but I do obsess. I obsess.
Shut up.
I obsess. I obsess.
Shut up.
I obsess.
GP, how many times have you beaten Silver Surfer during this episode so far?
You are a
Five
talented
loops?
gamer.
Stop.
You're
We're
the
not here for
retro
that.
whisperer. Jesus God.
Oh my God.
Shut up.
But no, here's what I'm saying. No, and I've always been this way. I don't think I have a talent except for the obsessing. Like that's it. If you put the time in, you figure it out. Anybody can do it. So
I disagree.
okay,
I am
we'll shelf that.
I have like 5 thumbs on every hand, and that's my problem.
We'll put that on the shelf. Sinistar, will you throw that onto the back shelf behind you?
Sinistar and the entire continent of Brazil disagree with you, right?
But no, so what I'm saying is in like the month or maybe the 5 or 6 weeks leading up to the debut, the premiere of the Retro Therapy, all I played was Mega Man, getting it down to 30 minutes and then 25 minutes and trying to get it down to like between 20 and 22. Because the very first thing the Retro Therapy ever did, there were 2 of us hosting at the time. In fact, the other host was the cousin I was talking to about the whole speedrunning thing. Anyways, our goal was to beat 64 games in like the first month. Like it was just a month of trying to beat 64 games. So my very first run at Mega Man, I'm just going through and nailing these glitches. And I think I'm doing great. And he's just sitting there like, you're breaking the game. Stop it. And so that was kind of my first obsession. And then eventually playing Battletoads blind, a year and a half into streaming. And then thinking that is such a tough game. But these people can do these things. And there's these glitches, the turbo tunnel thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's just, I start to obsess. And I think, I bet I could do that. Because I want to be able to know that anybody really could. And that's where that comes from. So the same thing with the Silver Surfer. Blind run to speed run. And for whatever reason, that process is insanely appealing to me. So I don't know.
By the
That's
way,
down.
Total aside, I want to bring up that a handy capable Sean I think beat Silver Surfer with his chin.
With his
Just
face.
so cool.
He's a god of
Yeah.
retro.
Gauntlet
I love that
throne, my friend.
Yeah.
Gauntlet throne.
So one thing I thought of while you were talking about this, like doing it over and over and over again and over and over, and so I want to bring up maybe the reason that I'm not a speedrunner is because I have an experience that comes to mind, and that is on the original Xbox, not the re-release on PC later, but Psychonauts on the original Xbox. The meat circus is timing perfect. And I had to do it
always.
I had to do
Always.
it so many times. Yeah. I had to do it so many times that I think I did throw my controller. Now I was gonna wing it as hard as I could, and at the end I kind of pulled back a little bit, but it's one of the 2 times in my life I've either wanted to or thrown a controller. But I think that maybe that's why I'm not like ever going to be a speedrunner, is because that game forced me to speedrun that level through repetition, and I was like, fuck this, I'm out. I beat it and I'm done. Never again.
Yeah.
So
That's the thing. I don't think I've ever obsessed about something that I've enjoyed so much to hate. And honestly, speedrunning is very similar to like drumming. It's muscle memory, repetition, and blisters. So, but yeah, I get you. I've never been a rage quit type of guy, but I've definitely, more so than any other thing, rage quitted speedruns. So I'm with you on that one. So, okay, next round of questions that I have for you guys. If somebody were to say you have to do at least one game speedrunning that you've never attempted to speedrun before, what game would you choose and why? We're going to start off with Werewolf on this one.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to repeat the question.
Okay. No. If somebody said you must
Interesting
speedrun
answer.
a game, right? That was the shortest possible answer. Werewolf wins. No, if somebody were to say you have to pick a game, it can be any game that you want, but it can't be one that you've ever attempted to speedrun. What game would you choose and why?
Oh goodness. Shit, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to get stuck playing Super Mario 3 because I am not good enough at that to get through it quickly. Shoot. I guess perhaps Mega Man 4?
That's a good one. I love that game so much.
Best 80s
So I
game
need
for
the
sure.
why. What sticks
The
out?
why?
Can somebody mute Jake,
because
please? Brazil
It's
looking at
because I like the Mega Man games.
Mhm.
But I've attempted to speedrun like mildly. Mega Man X, Mega Man X2, Mega Man 3, just because that was the first one I was ever able to beat. Mega Man 2, I feel like is a little too janky. Mega Man 4 is that sweet spot where they introduced the Mega Bus, like the Charge Buster. So you've got some strong mechanics that this game is built on, and then interesting level design. So I think that's why. Plus the music is all bangers, right?
There you go.
You
Yes.
got to keep,
Dope
if you're
soundtrack.
going to keep listening to the same music over and over and over, it's got to be stuff you don't get sick of. And
Yeah.
that's one of the strongest points for Mega Man 4 for me.
Yeah. And to that point, 1942 would be the absolute worst to have to ever try to speed.
Oh, God, that game. Awful. Awful.
It is the worst. Jake, how about you? What would be on your list of speed runs to try next?
You know, so maybe we can talk about this afterwards too, but there's a difference between wanting to speedrun a game and wanting to be in the leaderboard, I think. Because I would actually love to try speedrunning Tetris. Maybe not, maybe the Game Boy one of the NES, but Tetris is a speedrun. You know, the 100 lines thing.
Oh.
It appeals to me because I love that game and I'm pretty decent at it. But that leaderboard is so competitive and so insanely like low. And there's different techniques for Tetris. Like there's different ways. It's not just playing with a controller. People, if you ever see people do speedruns of NES Tetris now, they have this underhand where they tap the bottom of the controller to trigger the D-pad for speed. It's insane to see. I don't want to do that. My hands hurt just watching people play that way. But for me personally, just to speedrun something, I'd love to do 100 lines speedrun of Tetris just for fun to see how fast I can do it. But I would not have any illusions of being on the leaderboard at all.
Could we start our own, if it doesn't exist, category for speedrunning Tetris? We'll call it BAT, build a tower. I think I could excel.
Actually, you know what? It's funny you mentioned that. There's I'll put a link in Discord later, but there's this indie developer, and he's actually been he has an itch.io account, and he's been creating some NES and Game Boy games. They actually ROMs actually work on emulators or on original hardware or on Everdrives and whatnot. And he's got a game called From Below, and it's basically a Tetris clone where you're fighting a Kraken. It's a fantastic Tetris clone, and he's working on a Game Boy version that's coming out in a month or so. I can't wait to pick it up. From Below just got added to speedrun.com. The developer added it himself, and there's a couple runners there. And because it's a lot of skills crossover from NES Tetris, there's a few runners are coming across. But they've already got the 100-line leaderboard down to like under 4 minutes. And it's still too fast for me. But it's neat that it's a new quote unquote game that somebody's made that's on speedrun.com and it's in the retro style. So I might try doing it there just to see my name on a leaderboard for a short while.
Absolutely. Now you brought up an interesting point. Does Press Me to Cancel have a Discord?
Why, yes, GP, we sure do.
And where could a listener find it if they wanted to join?
on pressbtocancel.com.
Wait, we have a website now?
We
Wow.
might. I even added a Discord link because I got tired of saying what the bit.ly URL was. So pressbtocancel.com. It's right on the top left.
To your point, though, Jake, I will say there is something about, and this goes back to why I'm an asshole, but there is something about just wanting to see your name somewhere on the leaderboard. It's cool to set a goal and be like,
Yeah.
I just want to be top 50 in this game. When I was attempting Ninja Gaiden, I knew that there is no chance, or Battletoads, that I was ever going to break into the top 5, let alone 10 or whatever. And so I'd set a certain goal, because just to kind of be in the conversation, or to be able to hang with some of those people who can do this insane stuff. I get that, especially if it's a game that you love. To kind of be a part of the history of the game in the way that the game is a part of your own history, I think is pretty special. And that's the most profound shit I've said in years. Years. Sinistar, how about you? If you had to speedrun a game,
Yeah.
what would you choose and why?
So I would want to do this game speedrun in 2 different ways. And that is Subnautica.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I would want to see how quickly I could get to the end, right? Because you can shortcut a whole bunch of it as long as you know where to go, and you know what tools to build and whatever. So that would be the first piece, because once again, the soundtrack is amazing. It has an amazing soundtrack. B, it's a blast to play. It has one of the best stories. I enjoyed it enough that I went back and played it again. I very rarely do that. And then the other speedrun category that I would want to do, and I think this would be a blast, would be get to the point that I have I can't remember what the suit's called, but the one with the drill
Prawn
and
suit.
the prawn suit, but where it has the drill and the grappling hook, and see how quickly I could speedrun killing every Leviathan on that board. Like,
Jeez.
That'd be cool.
it would be great.
That'd be cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I'd watch the hell out of that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
And then, I'd run into the situation where, like, every third, Leviathan I fight, it would glitch me out of the world and I just fall permanently, because that happens in that game.
Yeah. That's the thing about speedrunning, man. The golf comparison is becoming more and more like apropos, because at any given time, some
You
weird
could
shit
just
can
lay it out
happen.
of bounds.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Here's what I'm going to do. If I ever start speedrunning again, I'm going to buy a bunch of like cheapo putters. That way, whenever I blow a speed run, I can just bust a putter over my over my knee. Yeah, and then we can have putter counts.
You could Bo Jackson the bat.
I should speed run Tecmo Bowl. Bo Jackson.
There you go.
No, we won't be doing that one. And then, Shard, if you had to speed run another game that you've never speed ran before, what would it be and why?
I have 2 games that I'd like to speed run in 2 different categories.
Okay, real quick though. If you say Circus Charlie, I'm going to lose my shit.
No.
I did that as a blind run, and that was the game I was referencing at the top of the episode. I can finish in 5 minutes and still have 3 minutes to cuddle.
That's
all right.
Yeah, that whole game is a speed run if played properly. I would pick, if I were going to play a game that had nothing done to it, it was just a standardized game, I would follow on Wolf's suggestion of Symphony of the Night, and I would try and speed run through the bosses to get to the end as quickly as possible. And that one, reverse castle the whole 9 yards. If I wanted a modded game to play, I really want to play Chrono Trigger Jets of Time. That's one I really would love to start learning how to do and start to race. It is a Chrono Trigger randomizer. Banging tunes, it's fucking Chrono Trigger. You can't go wrong.
Right.
And it's randomized. It's cool as hell. So I've seen a few people speedrun it. And I've always been very interested, but it's the one I've never picked up, and for any other reason, I never have. So if I don't ever go back to Worlds Collide, which is the Final Fantasy VI mod, I think Jets of Time will be my next attempt at learning how to run something fast.
Yeah, let me speak on behalf of the world and say that I hope you do. I hope you pick that up. That would be a blast to watch.
Speedrun Saturdays? I don't know. We'll figure something out.
That's great. And I can't say I've done Worlds Collide. I'm familiar enough with it. I mean, you guys know how I feel about Final Fantasies. I've played the fuck out of Free Enterprise. Never like
Mm.
timed or speed ran or anything, but it's just
Mhm.
such a fun concept and a good idea.
I did that for a few charities that I was like, I think I can get this in 2 hours. So we tried to run it in 2 hours, and I think had I not been sidetracked by stretch goals and the heavy drinking I was doing, probably would have knocked it out. But we didn't get to the end.
Thus explains the Kraken bottle. I understand you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. For me, I've got two entries as well. One would be Punch Out. And there's a couple different ways I would love to do it, but that's one of those ones, kind of like Silver Surfer or Battletoads, less with the glitching, but more with the precision. You've got to have that great sense of rhythm. You got to be able to figure out exactly everybody's tells and all that kind of stuff. And once you understand it, then yeah, the floodgates are open. Go get it.
I
But
would.
I think it'd be fun.
Can I talk about that for just a second?
Sure, do it.
Okay, so first off, that's actually what got me into the retro therapy. So I love that you brought up Punch Out. But my issue with speedrunning Punch Out would be KOs versus TKOs and the randomness that is that game right there. Right?
It's random until you see the numbers. Like when you can see the matrix, you understand it. But I take you at your point. But there's people who speedrun that where I don't think they're like, RNGesus, come on. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's got to be, nothing is truly random in those early games. Everything is based on some sort of number set. Go ahead though. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that was my point, was TKO versus KO. I mean, that would add significantly, seconds on top, if not a minute on top, right?
Right.
In difference. So yeah.
Well, and I love a game where you're just balls out, like trying to sprint to get to, but then you have to take like a minute breather because there's a little training montage and you can't do shit about it. Which, by the way, that's a banger of a track. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Is there a lot of randomness to the difference between to getting a KO?
I don't know, but I have never
would feel
seen.
like there's not, because if you're really kicking ass, I would think you're gonna get the KO most of the time, as long as you're spot on, right?
Maybe there is a mechanism that guarantees
my knowledge
a KO.
base. I've watched a couple people badge this game, and you have to TKO and KO all of them. You have to do it with everybody. So there are ways.
Everybody but King Hippo.
Yeah. There are ways that you can actually. It's not an RNG thing. There's actually something that you have to do, like with a certain amount of time. I actually watched Frank do the Mike Tyson fight for like, I'm not kidding you, just the fight by itself for like 2 weeks of trying to figure out how to do it, and he knocked it out. So literally and metaphorically. But
that's the fun.
There are ways to do it.
I mean that's that obsession, because when you get it, every time you PB, because you understand every time when you're learning it, everything will be a PB. So that's that. You talk about that dopamine hit. You're always seeing the gains. You're always seeing the progress. And then by the time you get to where you're PBing once in a great while, you're hooked. You're in. You can't really step away.
For those
who are thinking peanut butter,
personal best. I was just going to bring that up.
Wow.
Sorry. The parlance got away from me. The jargon. The other one, because I said I had
not press B. It's not press B.
It's that press B.
No.
Peanut butter.
Yeah.
That's PB2C.
Peanut butter to cancel.
Personal best to cancel. Okay. So I said Mega Man was kind of my first. I always want to say the word, but I always say four-way. It's not four-way. It wasn't my first four-way.
Foray.
Foray.
We back on Meat Circus?
My first
Foray.
This
is the interest to a hound. The foyer ghost.
Yes, it was my first foyer. But no, 2001, my freshman year of college, Metroid Prime comes out, and that original disc, the original release, you can sequence break. So I guess I was familiar with sequence break as far as that goes. That had been my first Metroid game. So it would be fun to go back and learn how to speed run the original version of Metroid Prime, because we did pretty good at some of that, or even just Super Metroid, because I still suck at that game, and I would love how to be good at that game. That would be great. So
I love Super Metroid.
Those are kind of my.
Well, Super Metroid's great too, because that incentivizes you. Even if you don't know what speedrunning is, as a kid playing Super Metroid, you're rewarded if you beat the game in a certain time, right? If you got under 3 hours, you got the swimsuit Samus. So it kind of instills in you the idea of speedrunning at a young age. Like you want to beat this game faster. That's neat.
Right. Got to go fast.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that like he said, every time you get a personal best or you PB on anything that you're running on, you want to do it again. And I can attest to that 100% because it'd be like you'd start out and you'd get I'm like 2.5 hours to finish Mega Man X. Okay, that is my baseline. That's how bad I am at this. This is my baseline. So okay, I got it done to 2 hours. Holy shit, I shaved off 30 minutes because I'm getting better at it. I ended that attempt at running that game. I ended at an hour and 9 minutes, and I was so goddamn excited about it that I didn't want to go anymore. I didn't think I could. I didn't think I could get any deeper than that. And there was some pretty insane like time jumps from what I was learning how to do, and that was literally just memorizing the stuff I needed to memorize and landing that stupid because I was doing 100% run through. So we were getting the Hadouken, the whole nine. We got it all, and I had to get that. The arm cannon is the hardest one to get the first time every single time because you have to land on a pixel perfect edge to jump up, crush it with your helmet, and then go get it in the fire level stage. And if I didn't get that on the first try, I had to reset because I was like, that's not it. So if I landed it once, then we'd fly and I would keep on rolling until I could get everything else. And I think I did it. Yeah, I did it in an hour and 9 minutes, and I was fucking pumped. And I'm sure anybody who speed runs Mega Man X at any level was like,
Good job, buddy. Good job.
and I'm freaking out. I was so excited. I went, you know what? I'm taking my speedrunner hat off.
Nobody's gonna slow clap that because we've all been there. Like anybody
Right.
who's been through that. Like, I mean, one thing I do enjoy about the community is it is competitive, but for the most part, people are friendly about it and they want to encourage other people because when you master something or when you get really good at it and you're at the top of your game or you're at the top of the list, I mean, Chart, how many times have we said, man, I wish I could go back and have some sort of, forgive me, head trauma and blind run Final Fantasy IV? You know, if you could rehab the first play experience. So, you know, by the time you're at the top of that level and you've mastered everything, you watch these people learn how to speedrun because that wasn't that long ago you were doing that. You remember those dopamine hits and you want that for those people.
Right.
Now,
so
you touched on, you know, the community's supportive and helpful and stuff like that. But I do need to bring up there's a little bit of a darker side. There is a level of gatekeeping that happens in the rankings.
Okay. Yes.
You know, specifically, there is a level of gatekeeping where, you know, if you haven't done it exactly the way that they do, I mean, I get setting rules, but a lot of it feels very gatekeepy. So that that's a word. So that they, you know, I mean, it locks out a lot of players, right? And so this is where I think it would be cool to have, okay, so hardware only speedrun, cool, great, you have a category, but then like emulator speedrun, you know, as long as you can some way validate that you haven't modded, right? I mean, it would be really cool to have that level taken out so that there's less gatekeeping, right?
Sure.
I think that's why I'm more of the mod running thing. Because if I go and do Jets of Time or I do Worlds Collide or Free Enterprise, it's modded. There's
there's the expectation.
It's emulated and it's modded. It's you can't play it any other way. There's no other way to play this game.
Yeah.
So and
I have it on
there's nothing you can do.
guys.
Yeah, I know, right? So no one's going to gatekeep on any of like the modded type games that you could speedrun and do that kind of thing, which is why I think I lean towards a lot of that in the Legend of Zelda randomizers and things like that because no one's going to say nothing about it. You cheated because you went on a sequence. No, I didn't. It's randomized. I don't know where the fuck it's going to be. I'm going to go wherever I think I need to go, and I think that helps with and it's more of a race against somebody else because a lot of those games you are pitted against one person or another to do it. It's not like I'm entering this time because I did it. No, they're like, okay, we're scheduling a race between two people to run this thing. It's like when Jake and I did the Smite thing a couple weekends ago. You know, we're pitted against two people playing these games and racing it, but no one's going to gatekeep because you know I played Sonic when I was young and I played it on an emulator and I got that. You know, I got the emerald to win the game, but no one's going to say, no, fuck you can't do that. Yeah. So I don't know if you're not playing something standardized to me, then no one can be an asshole to, but I mean, they can, anybody can be a bad asshole about anything. I'm not saying that it's perfect, but I think it's safer.
There is a fine line between assholedom and, I guess non, whenever I was doing speed runs, I was always doing it on cartridge, and you know, people would ask, and I would always say 100%, you know, OG parts and I never meant for that to be a gatekeeping thing because I never tried to dissuade other people like, oh, it doesn't count if you're emulating. Fuck no. But I mean, like I said, there's kind of that line you got to toe because it can very easily be misconstrued as, oh,
I
yeah,
understand. I understand the concern that if it's emulated, there's the possibility that you know, it's not a timing accurate emulator, or it's been modded or something, right? And so, sure, have a hardware category, right? But then have, like, you know, the categories that are outside the hardware, you know, specific, right? So,
Sure.
Yeah.
because
For me,
I mean, that's really pushing out a whole generation of gamers that may be interested in speedrunning, because guess what? There's no new hardware. Sorry.
For me, it's the input, right? The original hardware, fine. Have it with Sinistar, have an emulated category, have an original hardware category. Because my thing, and I had this with Double Dragon as well, is some people are diehard. You must use a controller. You must use original hardware controller, and it has to be the pad. You can't use anything else. I have carpal tunnel. My hands are fucked up. Sorry, YouTube. I play on arcade sticks, hitboxes, button boxes. Some people think that's cheating. There's some people who like to play with keyboard, right? I know there has been a thing of Battletoads board. Some people had a discussion about, well, are you allowed to use a keyboard to play Battletoads? Does that give you an advantage? And I think it was JC made a post discussing it. And there's pros and cons of keyboard versus original controller. But for me, I think the important part is
I can see the argument of N key, right? N key rollover, right? I can see that argument.
So, and that's why I like
but
the arcade sticks, because arcade sticks are a button box, the hitbox. It's got something called an SOCD cleaner in it, which prevents doing the left and right at the same time, for example. Like, it's built in to not allow that. But also, a lot of emulators also have options to disable the same input. So it's a way to prevent that. But yeah, like, my thing is, it's just a hand pain. And if I can't use a hitbox, if I'm forced to use a controller, I can't even touch the hobby. I can't even go near it because my hands hurt too much. So I wish some leaderboards, it's not speedrunning community as a whole, but there's certain communities around a certain game that get really, really cranky when you mention something outside of a pad, right? Like, that's why I love the meme categories like NES Advantage % in some games. That's hilarious to me because that controller sucks.
I would do the punch out thing. I would do the punch out thing with the power glove.
Yeah.
Like, that
power
would be
glove category.
Absolutely.
PG %.
Yeah,
Rad Racer power glove %.
GPPGs.
Yeah,
GBPG %
power gloves. Well, yeah, it's called. Yeah, those are palindromes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Like Crown Royal and Royal. Was it RC Cola? Royal Crown and Crown. Anyway, no one cares. But yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. Sponsored by RC Cola. Said nobody this year.
Well,
RC
I'll take that over Dr. Pepper, but, you know.
No,
Wow.
Dr. Pepper.
Wow. God, man.
RC Cola is pretty good. I don't know.
Go ahead and keep
have that down there?
pissing on the sponsor, bud.
Are we good at gatekeep soda pop, guys? Come on.
What do you got, Werewolf? What do you got, Werewolf?
You guys got me curious as to whether Punch Out has a power glove %. It does not, but it has blindfolded. How do you play this game blindfolded?
Oh,
that's what
that is an
How do
entire
you
thing.
beat this game in 18 minutes blindfolded?
That is an
Once you know the
entire
rhythm.
thing. That is an entire thing. Like, everybody thought that Mike Tyson was like this random, like, number generator.
Yep.
No, they figured out, like, as long as, like, there are sequences, and they figured out auditory tones to pick up those sequences, right? And
Wow.
so,
Well, it's the same thing with the Mexican speedrunner did Turbo Tunnels blindfolded, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's all
Just
about
memorization.
the timing. Just learn where the timing's at.
I don't know who did it, but I heard about somebody who played like Symphony of the Night blindfolded with a DDR pad with their feet.
Yep.
Like,
hey, the one that I want, GP, you've got to make this happen. Klinger Winger blindfolded. Let's go.
No, I wouldn't even do that anymore with my eyeballs open.
Right. I mean, there's that. I don't know her name, but there is a streamer that she beat Melina from Elden Ring with a dance pad on one computer and beat Melina on Elden Ring on another computer with a freaking Guitar Hero guitar
at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
At the same time.
the origins of dancing to when like a fight goes back to, I think it was 1885, Hill Valley. Clint Eastwood, Marty McFly, moonwalked against Mad Dog Tanning,
Yeah.
and it was a great fucking scene. Anyway, I love Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Boop. Okay, anyway, sorry.
Hey, I didn't point at my background tonight.
No, you said some stuff back there.
We talked about my Hasvana.
The episode
wire
is
rack.
not that bad, Werewolf.
Yeah.
Oh no,
There he is.
Okay.
Hello.
Welcome back.
that was weird.
Would you guys? Can I? Okay. I shouldn't tell you this story because I've never told this story to another living person or
Oh,
dead
boy.
person. I don't know why I threw in living. I'm not trying to gatekeep life status, but this is true. This is the very last time I played Battletoads as a speed run. I had gotten, I think I had peaked officially at rank 20th or 21st, right?
I thought
on
you made
speedrun.com.
I thought you made 18. but-
Okay, so then upper teens. We'll
I
say
peaked in
that.
high
Yeah.
school.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had one night, it was 3 a.m. and I was playing out of my mind good. And I had I had a run that was fast enough that it would have gotten me to like 12th or 13th, like
Mhm.
low
Mhm.
teens or whatever, right? Close to 10. And I never submitted it because a friend of mine had passed away. His name was James.
Right.
I didn't mean to laugh at that. Sorry, but I was not sleeping. I was still and a lot of people from the retro therapy knew him, and he was a good friend of mine from my childhood. Anyway, I was not sleeping. I was not in a good way, and I was really just practicing speed runs, and I recorded it, but the whole time I'm sobbing and just and like
jeez.
really going through it, and it was heartbreaking shit. And I could not bring myself to submit that. And you can't go back and take out the audio because that's a disqualifier. So I kind of quit playing Battletoads after that because I'm like, what was the end of that? I think it was the very first ever episode of the Twilight Zone. There's a nuclear war. The guy, Burgess Meredith, his glasses break.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he
There
was in
was
a library.
time now.
It was time now.
There
Nobody's
was
ever going
time
to.
now.
What was the other story that it reminded me of? From Brooklyn Nine-Nine, when Captain Holt is showing Jake. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, me and my husband Kevin Costner are taking hula hoop classes. He's like, oh my God, why are you telling me this? And he leans in, he said, because nobody will ever believe you. And he deleted the pictures. It was that. It was this great moment, but only because but I couldn't submit it, and I never did, and I never will, and it's been deleted since. But that's why we don't see any more Battletoads for me. Is
That's a fair reason.
equal
That's
parts.
a reason for me.
But it was really funny. Like if you knew James, it was kind of one of those things where I swear to God, like he was just sitting right next to me, like, you're gonna do great, but you can never tell anybody because you're a piece of shit.
Mhm.
And that's
Wow.
that's the joke. Now everybody in the world knows that story. And Zimbabwe.
And Zimbabwe.
And
Yeah.
probably Brazil.
Hopefully Brazil.
The whole country of
Dr.
Brazil
Pepper.
Speaking
is ready to pounce on that record.
speaking of Brazil, we shat on Jake earlier, but he's still 11th. It's fine.
Am I
that's
still?
good.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
but
really?
how
Not
many? Like 15?
15, 16.
Yeah.
First is
Brazil
half your
smaller
time.
than I thought.
No, I feel for
Brazil's
what?
population is 15 people.
The guy who started that leaderboard, Virtual Bacon, I think his name was. He doesn't stream anymore, but he used to, and he used to speed run while he was on exercise bike. It was a way he could exercise and take his mind of exercising. So that's why he started speed running, and he started the Double Dragon Master System speed run. And I watched him, and I'm like, oh, I can do it better. That's the asshole part of me speaking. And I submitted, and I beat his
I
time.
get that.
And then Brazil said, "Fuck you. We don't need a speed bike. We'll just do it all in 10 minutes." Anyway,
For the listeners, just so you know, all week when we're talking, we use Marco Polo. All week when we're talking, literally every other Marco Polo from Jake is I can do it better in response to whatever you say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the ones where he's not saying that are these games are trash.
Yeah.
Yep.
Except
Why
for
you guys
Circus Charlie.
hate good games, I don't
Or he'll
understand.
send,
but
or he'll
be-
send videos and be like, "The Wheel of Pain's getting bigger, guys. Check this thing out. I think I'm
To
gonna
be
download
fair, like
that
half
new
of our
Gollum game
videos
when
are
it comes
asking
out."
Jake. To be fair, half of our videos from the rest of us are asking Jake if they have something in Canada.
But
Yeah,
he
the Wheel of
started
Pain
that.
is
He
motivation,
started
you
that trope.
assholes. This is to get you to play your Sisyphean games. I'm helping you beat your Sisyphean games with the Wheel of Pain.
My game
I'm
is so
helping.
bad, I would rather play something on the Wheel of Pain for 2 hours than
I'm adding
than
Gollum.
subject
Gollum's on
myself to
that
that
wheel.
for any amount. I'll play Gollum right fucking now. You buy it for me. I'll play it for you. Done and done. There's your Sisyphean. I'll take his bowl cut all the way to Sauron's tower.
That's what I was going to say. Is like that's like saying you have to get Golem's bowl cut if you don't beat your game. That's not really motivation.
Wait. How does
That's
that
you
apply?
hedging your bets on entertainment.
How does that
I'll take
apply
that
to
fruit
me?
salad bowl and those clippers all the way to Mount Doom. It's
How does
happening.
that how does that apply?
your doomses?
How does that apply to me? How would I put on? I'd have to buy a wig of Gollum's.
That'd be great. You'd look like
Yeah.
you'd look fucking like Nick Sorensen from Benchwarmers.
I'd look like what's the one stooge that has the,
Right,
the
Mo, or yeah.
Larry.
Mo,
Curly
yeah,
Shemp?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You can. They're packaged as the same thing, but yes.
yeah.
All right, fellas. We're at an hour. I think this is probably a good place to transition to our top 100 games. Before we do,
Yes.
does anybody have any final thoughts on speedrunning and why it's awesome? No,
I
we
think
covered it?
speedrunning's great.
There, I
think,
said
you
it.
I think it adds. Wow, he said it so fast. I think it adds a whole nother level to games that could easily just be one and dones. So
Yeah.
you know,
I
Way to
think
play the classics.
speedrun if you have an interest, but I also think that there's a value in playing the game through that you want to speedrun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to kind of bring that back to the points at the top of the episode, don't take it out of the box and blind run it and try to speed run it. Enjoy the fuck out of that game first.
And then
mean,
speedrun it.
Yeah, and then
Then
find new ways
speedrun
to do it.
when there's nothing else left to do, then do it quickly.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll add to it is the speedrun community. There's a lot of fantastic groups. Most of the speedrun community is fantastic, but it's very niched in games. Games are very like silos. Don't let one leaderboards community push you away from the hobby. There's so many great games and communities. Like the Mega Man seems pretty solid. I know Balto's community is pretty great to see. I love watching JC and TMR go at it when they touch it. Ninja Gaiden with Arcus is just one of the coolest guys on Twitch. Watching him speedrun is great. There's a lot of great speedrun communities centered around certain games. Don't let one
Castlevania.
bad game in communities push you away. It's not worth it.
Arcus
It's a
is one of the
great
most-
hobby.
Arcus is one of the most chill dudes I have ever
No
watched
kidding.
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Hell
glad he got brought up because that was one of my final points is to say a couple of important names for anybody who's not familiar with speedrunning. Check out Arcus. He's, I think, probably the best one to watch. He's incredible at everything he does. And his temperament is just exactly what I wish I could be.
He'll
But
hum.
will
He'll
never
hum.
be.
He'll hum the song from the game that he's playing while he's playing it.
He's a charmer. JC, I mean, what can you say about JC that JC hasn't already said about JC? And then, TMR, absolutely, the Mexican runner. You can't really talk about speed running without mentioning, those three and GP. So, with that said, everybody, thank you. Let's get into our submissions for top 100 games of all time. Now,
Let's do it.
Jake, you said because I was gone for the past 7 weeks, I could list 8 games. Was that right?
No, we're only going to give you 2 because I'm a prick, apparently, according to you guys on
Okay.
poll every week. So you get 2 this week. But no, you got to catch up a bit with some picks. So give us your 2.
Do they have
then-
pricks in Canada?
They do, just 1.
I will. Yes, and they're smaller because it's cold up there. I will.
Got
I'm
him.
going to do an entire episode.
He's
not
gone
have
for a
video.
month and he's just coming in hot.
Nice. So actually, it was a month and a half, but I speed ran it. So anyway, I'll mention my first of the 2, and then everybody will mention theirs, and then I'll mention my second one if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. First one. We're going to go with Mario 64. I know a lot of people are going to be like, yes, that's great. Probably an equal number are going to be like, well, shouldn't this game or this game be on there? But no, Mario 64. And that's that. I think we all know why from when we did the brackets, why I'm choosing this one. And if you don't know or haven't heard the brackets, go back and listen to the brackets.
Mhm. Well, I'm going to
so
go
then-
next because I'm going
Yeah,
to tie
let's
in.
do that.
I'm going to tie
Let's
in.
go.
I already knew what you were gonna. I knew that was the one that you were gonna guarantee pick, basically. And so we're gonna actually have 2 Mario games this week. Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo, a better Super Mario 3, in my
I was
opinion.
gonna say it's the lesser Super Mario 3.
Yeah, there's
We
debate
already did
on
the
which
bracket,
is better,
guys.
but I
We
think
already did the
both belong
bracket.
on the list, and that'll be a fun argument when we actually finalize the order because
Yeah,
there's no way Mario World is better than 3, but Mario World is a fantastic game.
But neither are as good as 64.
This
I think we can all agree on that. So let's move on.
This might be the only thing that Jake and I agree on about Mario 3 and Mario World. This might be our sole bonding moment. Is that
We both like Elden
You
Ring.
know- you know what better not make it on the list?
do you
is-
like Elden
is-
Ring?
I
You
do.
know what? You know
I
what
got
better
90
not
hours in
make
that
it on
fucking
the
game, Chard.
You know what better not make it on the list is Super Mario World 2 Yoshi Island. If that makes it on the list, there's going to be a fight.
You
It's
know
funny
what?
'cause I'm
I-
going to tie in with the other 3 that you have here.
Yeah.
We're going to have a third Mario game. No, we're not.
Oh shit. Okay. Chardmark, what's your game for the week? For the
Well, you were
list?
going to say, Wolf, you were going to say something. What were you going to say?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, what was the game you mentioned? Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. That game, I loved it when it came out. I 100%ed it. And it is not aged well for me. I can't stand it anymore.
Oh,
That is a game, whenever I think of it, I hear a noise in my head.
I have to mute the game when I play it.
I have
It's
to mute my
probably your coffee
brain.
maker.
I have to mute my brain when I think of that game. Moving on.
I meant to mute that. I'm sorry. You guys had to hear my
Sorry, guys.
little staccato
Sorry,
laugh.
guys. It sounds like I'm playing Mario 2, but I'm just making coffee.
Mm.
So I am not going to tie in with any Mario games this time around, but I am going to drop a hidden gem that many of you may not have heard about before called Final Fantasy VI. We're going to drop that one right in there because what needs to be said about Final Fantasy VI. It's the greatest Final Fantasy in the system. I don't think we need to go into that one in any
We
great
had that
detail.
bracket
So
also. That's all right.
yeah, we did. And 6-1. So 6 is going to be dropped in. I've been kind of sitting on that one for a couple weeks, and I think today's the day we're going to release it into the
I
wild.
should
So
have fucking said 6.
I knew you were going to try. I knew you were going to try and hit that one.
So far,
I even
everything that I
clarified-
mentioned has been a sports game because nobody else will do that except for maybe Char.
Mario 64, famous sports game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. No, that's a great one. Should I ask what version do you feel is best? A lot of people are going to say GBA. For the list, I think we have to stick with the original Super Nintendo version.
I think
But-
No, I
SNES,
want to go
yeah.
Super Nintendo version just because of its roots, from where
Wolseley?
it's from.
Okay.
GBA does have some good stuff into it. I feel like a lot of the GBA stuff might be kind of fluff because the story within itself is pretty self-contained, and then they added like the extra dungeons and some of the extra calls and whatever. But I don't know. I like the new the Pixel remaster is really good too. I really dig it, but I think it's mostly because of the music being completely orchestrated and making one of my favorite soundtracks, if not my favorite soundtrack, fucking epic to like all kinds of bounds. But we're gonna go with the Super Nintendo version.
I'll send you a link if you haven't. And probably nobody has, but I just played through the Pixel remaster of Final Fantasy 2, and the redone music into is breathtaking. It's great. Pandemonium as a track is they put choral voices with it. It's fucking disgusting. I love it.
Five's
To
the
that
same
point,
way.
the GPA or the GBA, the worst thing about that was the soundtrack. But I think that has the best translation. We could do a whole episode over this. We won't.
I could agree to that. I could 100% agree to that.
Wolf, how about you? What's your entry for the week?
Metal Gear.
Oh my god, that
Metal
was
Gear
awesome.
Solid specifically.
Okay,
great one.
Twin
Yep.
Snakes or PS1?
Without PS1, there wouldn't be Twin Snakes. So I've played through
Interesting.
most of the PS1 game. I've played all the way through Twin Snakes. But it had been so long since the first came out that when I finally went to go play through it, I felt like Twin Snakes was better aged. But Metal Gear Solid was an absolutely solid game.
Nice. It was
on
brilliant.
brand.
And
On brand.
Tom Brady?
And this is another game that is almost single-handedly responsible for the popularity of the genre, right?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Stealth games really took off because of Metal Gear Solid.
Especially
And-
hiding in boxes games.
Yeah.
Really.
I
And
ironically
now we
found
have
out
Gollum.
through Metal
So we
Gear
thank you, Metal
Solid
Gear, for
that I
Gollum.
am terrible.
Oh my God.
I found out through Metal Gear games that I'm terrible at sneaking around games. So
For
fantastic.
me, it's the heavy
Thanks, Metal
breathing.
Gear.
This is why I could never be Celestine.
In the box, like I just fucking ate one of your treasure box troves or whatever.
No, the box is infallible. We know this.
Yeah, legit. I was playing
Except for my
hide and
fat
seek.
ass underneath it.
I was playing hide and seek in the house today with my kid, and he walks by. I'm hiding in his room. He had counted in the living room, and he just walks by. He's like, "Dad, I can hear you, man. I don't know where you are, but I know you're in my room."
I'm tired. Shut up. Daddy's been working.
Anyway, that's it. But no,
I ran here. Shush.
the PS1 version absolutely has to be the one that's on there. I think Twin Snakes has aged better. Graphically, playability, it's so smooth. But yeah, first playing Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1 was not like transcendental, but it was a completely new experience.
Pretty mind blowing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like
I'm with you.
the meta of playing through the game, like you're going through, you hit that point with Psycho Mantis where he's like reading off your memory card. I see you like
Yeah.
this game and this game. Fucking creep. Like
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's Eternal
cool.
Darkness
See, that's
level.
cool.
That's
and then the
Eternal
trick
Darkness
to
level.
beating him, right? Like
Yes.
it's
I love
so
that.
cool the
Cool.
way they did that. Like, and I know other Metal Gear games have sort of followed suit with these like unusual boss mechanics and aspects of gameplay, and I love that. It's the reason I want to play through the entire franchise because I've only played through 1 and Twin Snakes and then some of 3, and
3 is
I want to
so
go
good.
play. I want to play through all of them all the way, so I have the
Well,
collection.
Snake
on the
Eater just
PS3.
got announced for its remastered
I
release here
have them on
too.
PS3.
Oh,
I'm not
really?
buying it again.
I would.
Just saying
Okay,
it
Fucking
did.
that's the
dummy.
thing.
Wow.
They re-released 2 as Substance and 3 as Subsistence, and those are, in my opinion, the preferred method of playing. Those are the better versions. But yeah, you're right. And like getting Meryl's codec number off the back of the box, like
Yeah, the back of the case, and
brilliant.
honestly,
so cool.
the first time I played this was just like, this is wild. The presentation, how cinematic it was for a PS1 game.
I was gonna say, like, I
can just
dump on the
imagine.
PS1 a lot,
Yo, I got the
but
codex right here.
graphic-wise, but when I played
Drink
Metal
more,
Gear on the
Ovaltine.
PlayStation, the graphics are so solid. And you're right, the opening scene with the music when you're coming out of the water, it is so cinematic, and it rivals some movies at the time. Like Kojima was so on point with the influences. It's good.
It
And then-
stepped up the cinematic level of video games to an obscene degree from what came out previously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was not like it was presented very cinematically, but it was not a movie video game. Like it wasn't, clips from a movie. It wasn't a visual novel style game or something
It
that
wasn't
just
Fifth
unfolded where
Element.
you make decisions. You're
Right.
playing it, right? Like
Yeah.
it unfolded like a movie though. It was really cool. So that's why that one's on my list.
And then
Fifth
the
Element movie
replayability
clips
of
are fantastic. Okay, leave that alone.
getting the invisibility cloak, getting the tuxedo or the infinite ammo bandana. Those, I don't
Oh,
know.
it's awesome.
You get,
Yeah.
infinitely replayable, and I think that's brilliant. I think Chard's suggestion or entry this week was spot on and obvious. It should be there. Yours, my friend, was brilliant, and Sinistar added one too. So, Jake, how about yours?
Well, I'm going to bring it back to Mario, and I'm also going to talk about a sports game. We'll do a 2-for-1, and it's Punch-Out for the NES, where Mario is the referee. And Punch-Out, I think, doesn't need discussion like Metal Gear. Like, Punch-Out is Punch-Out. It's one of the best games on the NES. The tight controls, the cast of characters, the music is just in your brain iconic. Everything about that game is fantastic. And I know it's had sequels over the years, but I think the original on the NES, well, maybe it wasn't the original, but the NES version is so good. So, Punch-Out for me.
I agree.
So, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the internet show Hot Ones, where they interview celebrities while eating hot wings. Kieran Culkin was on like a month ago, and he was talking about his love for Punch-Out and how he was at a bar, and it was if you could beat Mike Tyson, you could get a free pitcher of beer. And so he's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So he picks up the controllers, and the guy's like, oh, here, let me give you the code to get to Mike Tyson. And he's like, no, I know it. And the guy's like, really? And he realizes he's like, and if you haven't watched it, go back and watch the interview, but just scrub forward to when he does this. He realizes he doesn't actually know the combination or the code. He just knows it by sound. And he goes through while he's doing the interview, and he's like, boop, 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 beep, boop, 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 boop. And I'm like, motherfucker, that's exactly right. It sounded like the rhythm, the cadence, he nailed it. I'm like, yeah. Okay.
Because that's how many
that's
times
good.
he fucking went down to Tyson because you
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure I memorized it after watching Frank fucking lose for 2 weeks. Sorry,
Yeah,
dude.
and that's the thing. I couldn't replicate what the code is with, vocally, but hearing him, I could recognize that's accurate. That's well done. So no, you're right. Punch Out's fantastic. It's a iconic game from an iconic system, and it's, I think, set the pace for what a lot of boxing games could be.
And notoriously set the pace for Mario's voice. Mwop, 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 mwop. Yeah, I mean, it's stuck through the entire franchise.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so then my second entry for this,
That's
I
why
said Mario
Chris Pratt
64. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Contra for the NES, and here's why. I understand Contra first was out on the arcade. The reason this was important that it's the NES version is because it is, in my estimation, one of the first times an NES game was superior to the arcade version. And I mean, it's that explanation notwithstanding, the game deserves to be on there. It's one of the all-time greats, not just for the system, but for any run and gun side-scrolling type game.
With
Not
some
side-scrolling, but
first-person aspects. With some
Yeah.
first-person aspects
Yeah.
that were kind of refreshing at the time.
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean,
I don't
they've thrown
even
in some
like
new
running gun
things with-
games, but I love Contra.
Uh-huh.
Like it plays
So
so
good.
well. Even if you're not a fan of the genre, it's still such a fantastic game, and also a killer soundtrack for sure.
Yeah, killer
I am not a
soundtrack,
big
action
fan of
figure.
Contra, but I respect the hell out of it. Like the music is great, the animation is great, the mechanics I recognize are strong. It's just not my style of game.
Sure.
It needed Sigourney Weaver at the end.
Oh,
Aliens.
okay, yeah, I got you. I was thinking about the face at the end of Super Contra or Super C, which I always maintain looks like ScarJo.
Yeah, that's Scarlett Johansson. No.
ScarJo, if you're listening, hey, good to see you.
Get away from her, you bitch. Contra.
No, at the end you've got the little face huggers running past you,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
you've got the like alien. I mean, it needed Sigourney in her fucking lifter suit.
She needed the
Get
power
away
lifter,
from
the
her.
pour loader.
She
But
should
no,
have shown up at
instead-
the end after you've
Yeah.
beaten it, and she'd be like, "Oh, well, I guess you've got this then."
Yeah, I'll
Let's
head
see what
back to-
Samus is up to.
uh-huh.
All right, fellas,
I'm going to Thebes.
I gotta tell you, I've missed you. It feels good to be back. Thank you for being patient with me while I've been not available. And the work that you guys put out without me was fantastic. And I'm not at all offended.
patient, if we think you've been patient, that's cool.
Oh,
You
I have
think
no
we
idea.
what?
You guys have a separate Marco Polo thread where I'm just constantly being roasted, and I'm cool.
We call that the Chardmonk Sinistar Best Friends thread.
Plus,
That's
plus,
cancel.
plus,
Everybody but Chard, tell people where they can find you.
Hell, if I'm lucky.
Chard, where can we find you? Over at Sinistar's house. What?
If you can find me on Sinistar's channel.
All right, so Jake, let's start with you, sir. Where can people find you?
Mostly here, occasionally on Twitter, not at Sinistar's house or Chard's house. I wasn't invited, just because I'm fucking in Canada. That's okay. I do want to give a shout out, though. I'm going to give a shout out to...
I live around the corner. I wasn't invited either.
Oh, wow. Ouch. Play From Below. From Below. I'll link it in Discord. From Below. It's an indie developer. There's an NES version. There's even a browser version. But go play that game. It's so great to see an indie developer make games for the NES. There's a few people who do it, but I really love From Below. So go play that.
As above. Very cool. Werewolf, how about you? Where can people find you, sir?
Nowhere right now. I've just been kind of kicking ass around the house trying to get stuff taken care of. So
Love that.
Over the summer, I will finally tackle this stuff that I'm supposed to tackle for my homework. But for now, like once the kiddo starts this summer, but that's about a month out still.
Isn't that fucked up though? Like 3 weeks ago, we were talking about, oh, it's almost 2023. We really need to decide what games we're going to pick, and now it's June. So fantastic.
And I think none of us have finished our games yet.
If anybody has a good save file right before the penance fight on Final Fantasy X, I'll pay shipping.
Wheel of pain for all of us. Wheel of pain.
I'll dig mine up for you, bud.
Column.
We're all playing Gollum. Fuck it. We're all just gonna play that as penance. That's our own penance.
Is there co-op? And we're gonna do it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
How many Gollums are there?
What do you got going on, Sinistar? Where can people find you?
So most weeks, well, not most weeks, about every other week I am streaming. I am actually making progress again in Chrono Trigger. Fuck those golems. And so I argue that I am the closest to being done with my Sisyphean game in the group. And I am on track to finish for sure by the end of the year. But yeah, Sinistar77 on Twitch. I'm also on Twitter. I'm here. And I'm also going to throw out like and subscribe and tell your friends.
Yes, please. We can always use the support and the recommendations. We love what we do, and we would just love to do it in front of more people, which actually is not the first time I've said that this week. Different category. Anyway,
we're sorry,
Pornhub. That's wonderful.
But it is speedrunning.
Nice. Yeah. Speaking of speedrunning Tetris. Anyway,
not on this leaderboard.
And I'll say this for anybody who's down on themselves for not having beaten their Sisyphean game yet. If you've at least turned on the system with the game in it, you are ahead of me. So that's
I have one recording.
Well, we're all out of time, Charge.
I have one with no sound.
You ever feel like Yoko Ono?
tell everybody where they can find you, and just do it. Just get it over with.
I'll be at GP's house this week.
Yes, do
Kissing
that.
his
Come by.
ass.
Let's make Sinistar jealous.
We're gonna start our own MP. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'll hit you up later.
Right on.
Look, I can share.
I can't. I'm selfish. Twitch, Twitter, here. We just beat Demon Souls today, so I think I can officially say I've defeated all the Soulsborne games except for the PS3 original, the Dark Demon Souls. Maybe one day we'll get to that. But for right now, I'm eyeballing a run at the DLC of Dark Souls 3 to complete the Circle of Life, as it were. We're going to probably start Last of Us, and hopefully Red Dead Redemption does not continue to be a pain in my ass, because I'd like to finish that up too. So, and then Resident Evil tomorrow. Be a good time. The remake.
Right on. Love it. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. That's everybody. I'm Guy Prime, and this is where you can find me here at Press B to Cancel. And I'll be around much more now, which makes me happy. I feel relieved to be able to say that. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you guys for being a part of this very special episode that means so much to me. And I will look forward to seeing everybody again next week. Have a good night. As I slap my thigh.
I'm Speed.